What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Spin Fuel's Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and today we're going to be checking out the Vapes gClapton coils. So before I start my review, I do want to give a huge shout out to Craft Vapery for giving me these for the purpose of this review. So big shout out to them. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to do this review for you guys. So today, like I said, we have some gClapton coils by Vapes. They're 24 karat gold. They have built-in Clapton coils. They measure in right at 0.3 ohms. So I've been testing these things out for about a week now, and I want to give you my opinions on these things. I know a lot of you out there are really curious about these, so let's get into it. So first of all, let's go over some of the specs and the price. These are available in a number of different varieties. I'm on their website right now, and they show the OVC coils for Kanger at 0.3 and 0.5 ohms. They also have temperature control for Kanger. For Aspire and Heracles, they have 0.3, 0.5, and temperature control. For the Arctic tanks, they have 0.3, 0.5, and temperature control as well. So you have three different varieties of tanks that they are compatible with, and as well as three different resistances, including temperature control, which is pretty impressive. Now, if you're on the Craft Vapery website, they only sell them in the 0.3 ohm, and they only have them for the Atlantis and for the Kanger tanks. So there are a number of different varieties out there, but you will have a limited selection if you go on the Craft Vapery website. However, the price is pretty decent. If you're already a member of the Craft Vapery subscription, you're going to get these things for $18.90 for a 4-pack and $21 for any non-members out there that just want a place to shop on like Craft Vapery website. Alright, so performance-wise, right now I have it loaded up with some Max VG juice in the Kanger Subtank Plus. So let's go ahead and have a quick vape and see how these babies perform. So before I go any further, I do want to mention the fact that I'm using these slightly above the recommended wattages. These are recommended from 25 to 45 watts on the Kanger tank here. So I am using them at 50 watts right now. And I think that you can really push these coils a little bit beyond what the manufacturer suggests. Although, you know, if you want to prevent any dry hits or anything like that, make sure you're using them within their specified wattage ranges. Also, make sure you prime up the coil really well. Now, I know the burning question is flavor. I get really decent flavor off of these coils. However, I don't notice a significant difference between a normal Kanger coil and these here. I think Kanger's come a long way with their vertical coil technology, and they give me a really good flavor. These are also a vertical coil, which I really like. I like that the airflow goes all the way through, and I think that you get a better flavor off of a vertical coil. So let's take a few more rips off of these things. I'll show you guys some more vapor production. So I know there's going to be one more question you guys are going to ask, and that's, do they dry hit? I'm using them at 50 watts, which is above the normal recommended wattage for these things, and I do not get dry hits even though I can chain vape it. So I can do 2 or 3 pulls at a time without having to wait in between. It wicks pretty decent, and I still get a solid flavor out of it without any dry hit. So I think these things are pretty decent. If I used it anywhere beyond 50 watts though, I feel like I might get a little bit of a dry hit after 1 or 2 pulls. So as always with any coil, you got to baby it at first, but then you can kind of test its limits. Alright, so let's move on to the next tank I have set up, which is the Atlantis. Alright vapors, so as you can see, I have my Atlantis tank all set up now. I'm not going to change my wattage because I've used this same setup on 50 watts before, and I know that it works. So let's go ahead first, before we get into it, let's just take a few rips. So as you can see, plenty of vapor production from these coils, and just like the Kanger coils, I can still rip these 2 or 3 times in a row without getting a dry hit. Now, an interesting thing about these coils is, again, they're recommended from 25 to 45 watts, and I'm using them in an Atlantis V1. Now, that only has a single airflow hole, and I feel like if I was using Triton tank or Atlantis V2 or something like that, I would get a little bit better vapor production, a little bit less heat off of these coils, because I do get a bit of a heat when it comes to the Atlantis V1, but that's all I really have at this time, so that's all I had to test it with. So I felt like bringing you guys this review from both aspects, the Atlantis side and the Kanger side as well. But anyways, flavor is, again, spot on in these things. Really like the flavor out of them. Again, though, I don't really feel like I get too much of a boost in flavor. I really wish that I saw a dramatic difference, but unfortunately, I don't see that there's a ton of difference. My only other problem with these coils is the fact that they're 24 karat gold plated, which I find makes zero difference whatsoever. I'm not sure why they actually went that route, but I mean, it makes your coils look a little bit flashy, especially if you have like the Kanger tank where you can see the entire coil from the outside. That looks kind of cool, and you can kind of show them off to your friends, but as far as function-wise, I don't feel like that makes any sort of difference. And since I've been using these coils, I've only had to go through one of each. I've changed my Atlantis coil recently because I've been using it a little bit more. But they do last quite a bit longer than your normal Atlantis coil, which is a really good thing. And of course that depends heavily on what wattage you're vaping at, what juice you're vaping, and other factors, like if it's really high in color or something like that. If you have food coloring or anything like that in your liquid, it's going to gunk up your coils faster. So, or sweetener, that too. So in lieu of a close-up section of this video, I'm just going to run a few pictures across the screen right now and show you what these products look like up close. So while I do that, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on these things. As I mentioned earlier, they're available in a few different iterations of coils. So the compatibility is with the Heracles and Aspire, Atlantis 2, Atlantis Mega, and Atlantis Triton, as well as the Kanger Subtank Mini, Subtank Plus, and Subtank Nano for the different coils, as well as Arctic tanks as well. So they are 24 karat gold, 99.9% pure 24 karat gold coated, which I think is pretty pointless. I don't think that does anything for you except for make it look a little bit flashy if you have it in a Kanger tank, because you can see the whole coil in there, which is pretty cool. But other than that, other than showing it off to your friends, I don't feel like it makes that much of a difference. One minor thing that I had a little bit of an issue with these coils is the fact that there's a ramp-up time, and that's something you definitely have to get used to. So I'm just going to try to give you guys a little bit of a feel for how fast the ramp-up time is on these coils themselves. So first up, I'm going to give you the Atlantis version. I'm just going to say when I'm going to press the button. I'm going to put the tank right up to the microphone, and hopefully you guys can hear it. So I'm going to be firing up the coil in 3, 2, 1. There you go. So that was a little bit of a ramp up time. It's not too bad, but it's definitely something you got to get used to. I feel like in the different iterations of the coils, and if you're using them at the manufacturer's specified wattages, it might be a little bit more extreme, and that's probably why, part of the reason why I ended up going a little bit above what the manufacturer recommended for wattage. So, alright, now we have the Kanger tank on top. Let's go ahead and fire that up. In 3, 2, 1. So there you go, you definitely heard that. Alright, so whether or not I would purchase these devices if I did not receive them for free for the purpose of this review, and I'd have to say no. The reason I say no is I don't think it's worth $1 extra per coil just to have it plated in gold and to have a Clapton coil wrapped inside. If I was going to do a Clapton coil, I would buy myself an RTA or get the RTA section out for my device and just wrap a Clapton coil. I know that sounds difficult for a lot of you guys out there, but it's really not. And I assure you I'll do a Clapton tutorial for an RTA at some point in the near future. However, I think these coils, they do last a little bit longer, so if you're the occasional vapor or you don't vape all that often, not an everyday vapor, these coils might last you at least twice as long as a normal coil does. But for that 30% more longevity on these coils, I don't think it's worth an extra $1 per coil. And especially for the fact that they're plated in gold, and I think that's completely pointless other than being a little bit gaudy and over the top. But hey, you know, there's a market out there for this kind of thing, and, you know, Adam Vapes decided to fulfill that niche in the market. So there you go. Let me know in the comments section below whether or not you would purchase these coils for yourself, or you think they're a good idea, or any other thoughts you might have on this topic. If you like this video, don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up right down there. And if you want to subscribe for more of my content, if you want to check out more of my videos, just go to www.spinfuel.com. All my videos are up there, as well as Smoke and Joey and Spinfuel official videos. And as always, vape on.